Well, being a young buck here, it's nice to be around all these legends. When I was growing up and just really getting into running, a lot of these guys were people that I looked up to. So to finally fill one of those roles, it became an honor to me.
Don Lindley deserves all the credit in the world as far as being the founding father of the Fort Wayne Track Club. And then beyond that, being the selfless leader, probably never serving as president. I always served as treasurer for years and years, but he was the glue or the epoxy that kept this club together during some trying times, let's put it that way. But Don Lindley is a hero.
My inspiration came from Bobby Widman, who was originally had Fort Wayne running events out at Franke Park. And we started out there having races and training runs, and she asked me to formally incorporate the Fort Wayne Track Club as a organization. So in 1977, got a bunch of people together, and we formally started the Fort Wayne Track Club. And it became a running club ever since, and I'm just so glad to be inspired by all the enthusiasm of all the people that came inside the club and helped participate.
Yes, I was there, I think at the first meeting at the IPFW out there, at the campus out there. And I remember quite an array of characters that showed up.
Well, when I came on board with the club, they were actually between the running booms that were going on with the U.S. And the clubs was having the same dip in membership. In fact, as I recall, my first meeting, I left as director of something. I think the third meeting, I was the vice president. But there were only 3 or 4 people there at the meetings. So within a few years that the running boom started to hit, again, the second running boom, we saw a lot of participation, a lot more participation than from the community.
Certainly the TV 33 Hooks drugstore marathon, which I believe started it in, was it 78?
75.
Was it 75?
Dr. Ken Ellenwood won it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. And I remember Cy Ma from Toledo was the first race director, because I was in California at the time. But, I mean, Hilliard Gates and Cal Malik from TV 33 deserve a lot of credit.
I was a sprinter in high school and college, and started coaching at Fort Wayne Central High School, and all of a sudden I found myself as a cross-country coach. And so I learned just kind of by, I guess, you try things and hopefully they work, and you talk to other people. So when I got to Northrop and started coaching at Northrop, they dared me to run that very first marathon. And I told them I can do that, And I think my longest training one was 10 miles, and I might have put on 50 miles during a week, something like that. And but I finished it, and I ran 3:26, and so I was hooked.
What's amazing about the TV 33 Hooks Marathon, and I agree, that's when this really took off, was it was the worst time of year to hold a marathon.
Exactly.
And the running community
Summer.
was so enthused about it that people pushed through that terrible heat. You wouldn't even consider that today, doing a marathon in July in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But that's how big running was in this community, that it could happen at that time.
A great Hilliard Gates story. I think it was that very first marathon. He was the announcer. And I remember the race was going to start at 8 o'clock, and I remember him saying, "The time is now 7:55, time to warm up." And, so as great an announcer as he was, he didn't have a whole lot of ideas about distance running, that's for sure.
I know during the time I was president, Phil Selzer was heading up a lot of elementary miles for the county, not just the city schools that he directly worked with, but opened it up to the county elementaries and interacted with the PE teachers and really grew that. So I know one of the things that was on my heart during the time that I was president was making sure that we allotted some money for Phil to do his great work that he was doing, and I made that commitment through my time. And I don't think we recognized the outstanding high school runner at that time, but that was shortly thereafter.
It was about 10 years ago that we went to the Heisman style approach for the high school runner. We wanted to create some more atmosphere at the banquet, where we took and selected 3 from male and female and said that you guys were the best 3 in the area, and then one person would come, and at the banquet we would give them that award.
Joyce Hawkins Smith, I believe, with her school running, way prior to that.
Yeah.
Casey was very instrumental in getting her class and her school involved in that at a young age, and so maybe laid the groundwork for, but Phil was very solid into what he would do to contribute to the youth running in this area.
I mean, the purpose of the club was to promote running and walking, fitness, overall good health, so that we were graciously honored to be able to provide, running events throughout the year and training opportunities throughout the year and socials. To help people with overall health and well-being.
And I think that was a good legacy. I really do, Judy. Because we started to get the media attention from time to time. We'd have pictures in the newspaper, and I think that's great, really.
Well, and I think too the success of the running club and the running community has helped stimulate the growth in the trails in the whole county. I don't think without the participation of all these people that there would be the growth of the trail system.
And coming from the elite perspective, they actually taught me the social elements of running, what it was like to respect somebody that's a little bit slower than you. One of the things I've always noticed, the first person gets a lot of cheers, but the last person seems to get the most because everybody's there encouraging everybody the whole way.
The Fort Wayne Track Club / Running Club, as we're known today, has been a catalyst to a lot of the high school runners. Now they have a place to compete after they get out of high school or after they get out of college. It gives them that next step to do something and to stay in shape, to keep competing. I know a lot of our former runners from both Central and Northrop, where I've coached. I see them all the time competing.
As an example of the non-elite person, Tony Locks was a student of mine at Coessie Elementary School, and he came up to me when he was in college, and he said, I started running because I figured if you can do it, anybody can.
Larry Gates, he's quite a talent. I enjoyed him a lot. I think Fort Wayne is lucky to have. The other one is points. And back some years ago, I was the race director for the Home Loan 10,000.
Oh, yeah.
Home loan.
And the first thing I did is I went out and I contacted Hilliard. We hired him to come in. I said, Hilliard, would you help start the race? He says, that's a mess. There's a lot of people down there. And then to do something with the award ceremony. And then he said he'd be glad to. So we started, and everything started well. The race went well. And then the finish, it's quite a job. People keep it all down. And Hilliard was given a list of people who had finished and where they finished, and then in their category. He was reading it off. And I was standing next to him. And I could see the list he was reading. He got to one point, and I said, Hilliard, hold it for a minute. And he said, why? I said, well, the next person coming up, I want a kiss. It was Joan. And he said, you want a what? So we did.
Running is a solitary human endeavor. You don't need a team, you don't need other people to do it. But the Fort Wayne Track Club, now the Fort Wayne Running Club, was an organization that put on races and had training runs, group training runs. We had social events. And when I look back, and it's about 58 years of running, it's not my races or my places or my good efforts or the 10 marathons or any of that. It's the friends and the bonding through the socialization. And that's what I credit the Fort Wayne Track Club for giving me, and I think all its members.
Two sponsors that we're kind of all been known by, TB 33 Hooks and the Home Loan 10K.
Yes.
Those two events alone set our club statewide, nationwide. We were on the map because of those two events, and they were big, they were fun. We used to meet at Chen's and plan, pre-plan with Marty Bender and the whole city. We had all the people involved to put these events together, and it was a team effort, and we got along well. And it turned out great. Those were great events.
Barb, one person I would like to recognize, and whether it makes the cut or not, but J.P. Jones, and he's passed.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, he's rock solid. He wasn't initially there, Don, when you guys formed it, but that gentleman was the heart and soul of running and just the human spirit in not only this community but far-reaching. And I miss him a lot. He was a great inspiration to us.
You know, fortunately, having been able to run at the elite level and running against a lot of top guys and knowing a lot of top people, it is still, for me, it's all the memories. It's all the people I've met. It's not about times. It's not about accomplishments. It's just about the associations and people I've met over time.